Hello everyone, welcome to the Pushing Hustle podcast. This is your host Ash. As I was editing this episode and listening to how she speaks, I had to pause because it hit me. It's us. We're the ones who limit ourselves in running, in life, in everything. There's nothing wrong with being comfortable, but being comfortable isn't the same as being content. And if we want to grow, we've got to stop settling and start pushing hard for the stars, for what we know we are capable of. This conversation made me realize I can do better, and I will. She didn't come from a running background. She wasn't out there doing cross country as a teenager, but she'd been chasing times she once thought were impossible. For a lot of people, sub 3 is a dream, but most don't show up for that dream. Most don't put in miles. She did. She still does. Every single session, every single week. This episode is about that, about chasing big dreams, doing the work, and refusing to back down from the hard stuff. So let's get right into it, and please let me introduce to our guest today. Hey Megan, welcome to the podcast, and can you please give a quick introduction about you?
I'm Megan, and my sport of choice is definitely the marathon. I love running. I've been running since 2018, where I started just running half marathons, and I really realized I wanted a little bit more. So I ended up bumping up to the full marathon, and in 2019, that year, I was going into my first marathon, which was the Mississauga Marathon. And then lovely COVID hit and put a halt on that real fast. So, unfortunately, my first marathon got moved to 2022. So, I've been doing this since 2022 and predominantly focusing on that full marathon. Yeah.
Awesome, yeah. Thank you for that quick introduction. And so when you started running, did you had this idea of that you're gonna be hitting sub 3?
Yeah, no. To be fully transparent, I really genuinely thought sub 3 marathon would never be on my resume, if you will. I thought it was a total pipe dream. Like, I still look back on texts where I was like, people were suggesting it, and I'm like, are you insane? Like, sub 3 is so hard. Like, there's no way I'd ever be good enough to be a sub 3 hour marathoner. And so I actually just broke the sub 3 hours just in 2024 in Chicago. And that race was pretty big for me for a few reasons. In 2023, that just the year before, I had actually tried to go sub 3 as well. And I love Chicago so much, so I wanted it to be like this big thing. I went into that race injured, totally should not have done it. It was probably a mistake in that way, but I'm a little head hard, like, wow, can't speak. I'm a little strong-headed in terms of not backing down even when I should. So I went into that race. I was trained well. I was ready to go, but I had this kind of injury just like looming there. And unfortunately, I ended up finishing 3:26, which again, by no means is a horrible marathon time at all, but it just when you have a goal time and you've been training for months and months and it all blew up and my plantar fasciitis, it went through the roof. I had a lot of issues with my Achilles, but I learned the hard way. I definitely definitely learned the hard way. And so I was pretty heartbroken after that race. To be honest, after I finished it, I kind of was like, maybe this isn't for me. Maybe this sport isn't for me. Maybe I'm not as qualified for a sub 3 as I maybe thought I was. And so I took a couple weeks off and just kind of reset and had some conversations with some people and just really got to know like, hey, guess what? Like your time doesn't like the sport is so unforgiving and can be so beautiful when you hit those goals, but also can be heartbreaking when you don't. But I mean, it sounds funny, but I always compare it to golf. Like when you go out, when you go out to go play golf, one day you could be like the next Tiger Woods, and then the next day you can't even drive the ball off the tee deck. You know what I mean? So it's like it's just all depends on the day. circumstances, everything like that. So I kind of reset myself and I was like, you know what? We got this. Like, you can do this again. Like, you know that the pace and your fitness level was there. It just, you were injured. Like, what moron goes into a race trying to go sub three with, yeah, yeah, right? Go into a sub three with an injury. It's just, it's foolish. And I think I've grown a lot since that race, which is funny because it was only in 2023. So after that race, I was like, okay, we're going back to Chicago. It's going to be a redemption run. I'm gonna prove to myself that I can go sub three, because that's, as much as we all have those goals like Boston Marathon and those things, like sub three was like, no, this is all that matters right now. So yeah, we went in 2024. I had a marathon, the Toronto Marathon in the May, just before, just kind of leading up to it, and I ended up placing third at that race at 3 hours and 10 seconds. So I was like, okay. So I was like, I got this. I got this. We're good. We're good. It was a great year for me. And then from that point on, I went and I was ready for Chicago. I was like, I'm not leaving this place without a sub three. So we went, and yeah, it all kind of worked out. And I was there with my friend John, who you've done a podcast
Yeah.
with just the other week. And it made it so much more fun to, he pulled up beside me in the middle of the race, oddly enough, out of like 60,000 runners. And I saw him and I was like, you know what? Like, it's the ultimate like motivation, seeing someone out there going for your big goal, and he was going for a big goal, I was going for a big goal. Like, it got me pumped up to be able to accomplish that. So when I crossed the line at 2:59:38, I was like, what? I was like, what do you mean? Like, I was through the roof. Like, of course, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I shed some tears at the finish line. But this time it was good tears. Where 2023, it was heartbreak, where this was like, hey, maybe, guess what? Maybe you might actually be okay at this sport. And maybe sub three is gonna become something that's kind of like your baseline now. So it was pretty incredible. And then I think it was like 2 weeks or 3 weeks later, I did the New York City Marathon as well after Chicago. And same thing, I finished on that 3 hours and 46 seconds. So I was like, okay, like, this is where we're at now. So 2025, I definitely have some big goals. So yeah.
Sub 3 is pretty much very hard thing to do. So we have done around that same time for so many marathons consistently. So how has things changed for you as a runner? Because before all this, you were running maybe slower marathons, right? 4 hours, 5 hours, and now you are doing this incredible thing where marathons are closer to sub 3.
Yeah, so I think when I ran my first marathon in Mississauga, I think it was like 3:29 something. So
What?
I knew, yeah, yeah. So I knew I had something in me, because when I first ran that 3:29, I was like, wait, isn't that like kind of slow? I didn't know. I was so new to running that
No,
didn't
that
know
is not slow.
I didn't know what was good, what was slow, what was fast. So I was like, okay. I was like, cool. Like, I just got a Boston qualifier. Like, what?
Yeah,
Okay,
that is
sure.
not
Here we go.
slow.
Yeah, it was crazy, but I think that it's definitely made me more confident as a runner, and almost honestly just as a person. I've if you ask probably any of my friends and family, I don't accept compliments very well. I'm very uncomfortable with it, and I think that has to do with my own confidence. And I think going from that 3:29, that first race, and being able to coach myself and figure out what worked for me to bring it down just in a couple of years to that sub three, I was like, I really realized, you know what, you're the only person that's holding you back. You're the only person that's sabotaging your progress, because if you think you can't do it, you're not going to do it. Like, if you tell yourself you can't do it, who's motivating you? Because when I run for me. I'm not competing with XYZ that I might know from my city. It's my race, it's my time, and I think that having the confidence to be able to do that sub 3 now when I go into a workout or a training run, I know that it's all leading up to something. And I think even in my like personal life and just my job outside of running, I look at myself in a different light and I realize how much in the past that I have self-sabotaged and not followed through on things because I'm afraid to fail them versus just, hey, you know what? Yeah, you very well could fail. And I could fail in Berlin when I'm there in September and not get my sub 3 and the time I'm looking for, but it teaches you so much more. And if we all just kind of took our failures and packed up our bag and went home, what does that do for us? So I think it's definitely taught me to give myself the chance and not kind of strip myself of an opportunity ahead of time.
Talking about your running, right? So your first marathon is 3 hours and 20 minutes, which is ridiculous. That's not slow. That's fast. You got BQ on your first marathon. So what is your background? What did you used to do before that?
Yeah, you know what's funny is I had never run any sort of long distance. In high school, I did a little bit of track and field, but we're talking like 100-meter dash and some long jump, which is hilarious because I'm 5'3". I don't know what I was thinking. But so that didn't go anywhere, clearly. And so yeah, no, I did that. I played soccer, I did some gymnastics. That was on it, and, like, rugby and field hockey, so I had, like, the
Pretty
endurance of
much
that running,
everything.
but it's like, no, there was no long distance running. I don't have some cool story about being a cross country superstar. Um, yeah, I'm just some girl that decided, "Hey, you know what? Let's try a half marathon," which is like, who thinks of that? But here we are, and then I did it, and I think just in where I was at with my working out and my fitness journey, I was like, I needed something more than just goals in the physical gym. So that's why I went for the half marathon. And I was like, oh, if you can do the half marathon in under 2 hours, cool. So I did it. And it was just kind of when I finished, I knew I wanted more. So that's why I did the full marathon. And to be honest, I don't race much other than full marathons. They just seem to be that sweet spot for me.
So you
So
played
I don't have,
soccer. I mean, you
yes.
played soccer. You said you played rugby, and you said you played hockey. So that pretty much you had endurance because those sports requires a lot of endurance and running in
Hmm.
some ways because you keep have to chasing and running. So
Yes, yeah.
even though you didn't have a running background, you had some sort of endurance training. I think that is a huge plus.
Yeah, I think if I didn't have sports in my life at some point, I probably never even would have picked up running just in general. So I thank the younger me for dragging my butt out to those field hockey fields and everything and running around because it's running isn't who I am necessarily, but it's a massive part of my life. And every day, my coach a few after Boston gave me a week off and I was like, "Sorry? Like what do I do with my time? Like no running for a week." So, it definitely it has that spot in my heart that I don't know what I would do without it, to be honest.
So why running? Could have done anything, right? So any other sports too. You could have continued playing in soccer, which if you take a level up, then that's pretty much harder too, where you have to push consistently and you have to perform. So why marathon and why sub 3 particularly?
The sub 3 question, I don't know. I think that one's hard. I think because when I first started running, one of my biggest goals and bucket list items was to run the Boston Marathon. That was 100%. I was like, if I do the Boston Marathon, I could die happy. Go for it. So when I first BQ'd on my first marathon, I signed up for the Boston Marathon in 2023. So that was my first world major and I remember crying multiple times across the course. Just I love the city of Boston in general and so running it, it's just such an emotional course. The crowds, the people, obviously the history of what has happened at the Boston Marathon. And when I ran it in 2023, it had been the 10-year anniversary since the bombings. And so it was extremely emotional that way. And just seeing that city come back the way they did year after that bombing. And I feel like the love and support is quite honestly unmatched. The crowds, they're so supportive of the runner. That city loves that race. And so it's truly one of a kind. And I think that yeah, I think the sub 3 kind of became my next goal once I did Boston, on top of obviously wanting to run the 6 world majors, but we all know the way those ballots work, that could take forever. So that's kind of where sub 3 kind of hit, and I think I enjoy pushing myself, and I want to go faster. I want to hurt in the best way. I want to know that I gave it my all. I want to look back on it when I can no longer even tie my own running shoes and go, I'm so glad that I did that. And I'm so glad that I was able to push and kind of fight for the goal that I wanted. Because in the past, kind of to answer your question about why running, is I would always get to these points in sports and maybe just life and jobs in general. And it would kind of be that fork in the road of, okay, so you either are choosing to leave this behind and you're not going to take any more steps forward and you're done with this chapter of your life because you're afraid that if you try and push for the next one, it's going to be, you're going to fail. So that kind of comes into that self-sabotage moment of, I can either leave this behind or I can keep trying. And when I was younger, I would choose the road of least resistance and I would just choose to leave. And I think with running, I don't know. I think it's the connection that I have with running and my love for it that kind of broke that barrier of, okay, well, if you want this, like, you can't back down. You have to keep pushing for what you want. So I think that's when I really knew running was going to be a huge part of my life, was that for the first time at, I think I was 27 when I first started this, give or take. That's when I knew that this sport was going to be different for me.
So this would be interesting question for you. So if you wanted to say something, or I know you were talking about that when you didn't want to give up and follow through on stuff. So why not chase the bigger distances instead of sub 3? Because those are different kind of challenges, right? Because where you literally have to go through the end of the barrel that you have, and even sometimes negative down because it's so
Yeah.
emotionally, mentally, physically draining. So what happened there?
So I think the longer distance, like, I don't know if I will. Some people ask me like, would you ever do a solo ultra marathon? And I'm like, you people are insane that do ultra marathons. Like, I thought I was crazy, but like, you're running like 100 miles. You have lost your mind in the best way. I can't imagine doing it. So even just doing the 42 kilometers, I think my goal for marathons is, even though the distance doesn't change, my goal to be faster and stronger at running always will. I don't think that there is an end point for me with marathons. I think it's, okay, so I ran this. Next race, we're going for this. And I think that that's just going to keep moving forward and keep being pushed. And it could all end up blowing up in my face and I could maybe never reach that final goal, and that will be something I'll have to cross when and if I get there. But it's not to say that other things or other distances are out of the cards for me, but I think right now getting faster and stronger for those marathons is probably my main goal. I find 42 kilometers is, that's kind of that sweet spot for me. I hate 10Ks because, oh my God, you're like out of breath the whole time and it's horrible. Yeah, no thank you. Hard pass on that one. So I think that's the most kind of like what we've talked about the other day, was the most I've done is that Riot Relays for that ultra marathon. But again, that's that group teamwork. So you're still only running, maybe, I think I maybe ran 20 kilometers total. So it is an ultra relay, but it's a very different kind of beast in itself. But I think the marathon will probably be my main goal. And now that I have a coach, I actually brought up trying to get into, have you heard of The Last Man Standing by BPN? that crazy nonsense where they run like 6.2 kilometers on the hour every hour.
That's like a
So
backyard ultra.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. So my coach is really closely connected to that, and I said to him, I was like, "Oh my God, I want to do this." He's like, "Yeah, no." He's like, "Let's focus on faster marathons
Yeah.
before you go and do that." So I was like, "Fine, fine, fine. Like, I guess I'll do that." So that will be probably what I work on for the next few years is that full marathon distance, but getting faster and better and just stronger and smarter of a runner for sure.
Last man standing is even tougher because it's people do. I've seen somewhere people has done like 270, 300 miles, not kilometers, miles.
Yeah,
So you said you don't want to do ultras, but that's one of the toughest thing out there is
I
when
know.
you have to challenge other people. You go as long as you're the last person, and that's
Yeah. Which is
insane.
such a crazy, like, whoever invented that, I would be like, I'd love to know what goes on to your brain of thinking, like, what's the best way to torture these people other than make them run in a circle for 6.2 kilometers over and over
But
and
yeah,
over again and have no deadline? Like, there's no day or time that it ends. It just ends when there's one of you left.
left,
So,
yeah.
I think that would probably come like later on when I'm maybe fizzling out of my marathon and maybe plateaued a little bit. But I just thought the idea of it's very cool. Very, very cool.
Indeed, that is one of the toughest thing. I've been talking to a lot of trailer runners, right, as you know, and I've talked to people who did the Cocodona 250. I've done
Crazy.
to the 100 milers, 100 kilometers, 50 kilometers, 80 kilometers. So it's a lot of challenging, and people
Yeah.
do things to go to the limit and do this kind of thing. It's so
Yeah.
inspiring and
It's
crazy in a good
crazy.
way, like you said. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's that's the theme. That's the theme of this podcast. Crazy in the best way.
Yeah. Now talking about that, crazy in the best way,
Yeah.
you average around 130 to 135 kilometer per week, which is
Yes.
insane because it requires so much time and effort to do all of this. So what has changed for you mentally in able to make all these things happen?
Oh man, I think mentally my mindset has just shifted. Prior to 2024 season, I knew what my goal was that sub 3, and I had watched a few podcasts and started kind of getting more into that research side of things versus just kind of winging it and being like, "Oh, like maybe I'll get there." And so I listened to a few podcasts, and there was just a lot of discussion about upping your mileage, which makes a huge difference. And whether it's slow, whether it's easy runs, things like that, it's just that increased volume of running. And so I think my mindset kind of shifted when I was like, okay, if I want this, I need to invest more time into this. And I need to become better, stronger, faster, smarter, and really get to know the ins and outs of running. And I think I mean, by no means am I a guru or anything like that, but I knew with my personal training background and just podcasts and wanting to learn and be faster that I could do that. I just needed to increase that volume, and which comes with risks. It comes with injuries. It comes with trying to manage life and time and friends and family and jobs, right? Which is crazy. It's all so hard, but at the end of the day, running is the only thing that I really do for myself. It's the one thing that I will say I am selfish with in the best way, in the best way. Otherwise, I don't do a whole whack of anything else for myself. So if I'm going to invest in anything, it's going to be running because that's what gives me the most joy in my life, to be quite honest. And I always call it, even though it's so cheesy, but like I call it my greatest love because it's changed so much for me as a person. And once I got up to that 130, 135 and kind of maintained that for most of my training, it does become easier. It becomes easier to manage. Your body adapts, which is insane because like we really underestimate what our bodies can do. And so that was a game changer for me. And so now I'm just kind of getting back into my Berlin training, and my coach will have me around 140 kilometers a week. So it's going to be kind of that same wheelhouse, and I just make it work because it's that mentality of if you want it, then you're gonna have to work for it. So, and as we know, sub three, it's not easy. It's not an easy goal. And for 2025, I have a bigger goal than just going just under sub three. So I'm like, if I want that, then I'll make it work. So here we are.
Yeah, that is a. What is your time for Berlin? Before I ask you the question.
Do I throw it out there? My goal for Berlin will be a, I'm gonna hope for a 255.
It's doable. Berlin is much flatter than anything
Yes.
else. Yes.
So I'm training with my coach right now. I've never had a coach until this year, until literally May. And he coaches a lot of incredible runners and a lot of runners that I actually have looked up to before I even started working with him. So we're confident we can get there. It's just everything has to, everything has to line up and injury free and put in the work. So I'm hoping that also the heat in September doesn't take me out in Berlin. So we'll
You will
see.
be
We'll see.
fine. It's not gonna be 47 for sure.
Oh my
So
gosh.
yeah, you'll be
Ugh,
fine.
gross. I hope not. But yeah, so that's that 255-ish is the general goal. And then maybe I'll come back on your podcast and tell you what the real goal actually was when I wrote it down.
Yes, yes, yeah. That would
Don't jinx
be.
it. Don't jinx it.
I think it's called positive manifestation.
Yes,
This
yes.
I learned from my sister-in-law is positive manifestation because if you think you're gonna do it, then you
Mhm.
gotta believe you could. I believe in you. Okay, let's go and get
Well,
it
thank
done.
you. Thank you. That's the hope. And my coach and I, we don't talk when we're either on the phone or we're texting. It's not like if you run to whatever. It's when you run it. And it's Berlin is going to be big. Berlin is going to be your new PR. Like things like that. So we try to put that out there, and which I can appreciate because I am not that person. Normally I'd be like, no, no way, it's not happening. Like maybe if this goes well, if this goes well, but I'm not usually one that speaks in such a positive way. So I'm trying a new thing here.
Yes, always.
Yeah.
Yeah, believe in you. We'll do
Thank
it.
you. I appreciate that.
And now I'm a little bit curious, right? So when people look at you, then they see this incredible mileage, then see this enormous sub three, sub close to sub three times and everything. So
Yeah.
what do you think people get wrong about you, like when they look at your journey?
I think I think the most that I've gotten is that a lot of people assume that I've been at this for a while. And as much as I would, like I said before, I would love a cool story of some cross country, like my parents were in the Olympics. I don't have that cool story. My parents are not athletic. Hopefully, they don't listen to this. I'm not athletic. So it's not like it was in my back pocket. It's definitely not genetics for this family over here. So I think that that's often what people ask is, oh, like you must have been at this for a while now. It's not true. I've only been running full marathon since 2022. And I think another one is that I have been coached this whole time. I just picked up a coach this May. Before that, all of my times were self-coached. So I coached myself to my first sub 3, and I think that's like I take pride in that, to be honest, because it's such a hard goal that so many runners struggle to hit, and it was my pipe dream. And I think being the one that got it for myself, it kind of hits a little bit differently than if a coach had gotten me there, which I mean, I'm going to be super excited in Berlin when I hit my PR because of my coach. But at that time, I told someone close to me, I was like, I want to be the person who gets me to the sub 3 and kind of have that in my back pocket. So I think that between I've been at this for a really long time and that I've been coached, those are probably two of the biggest things that people often get wrong about my journey.
And you talked about having coach from May, and before that, you yourself got this sub 3, which is incredibly hard thing to do.
Thank
So,
you.
what has
Yeah.
been the major difference that you are finding now, Self? Because prior to the coach and now, like, what has been the subtle differences in your training routine?
So, since we're kind of just jumping back into it, because I did a couple, I guess a month or so ago now, I did 3 marathons in 14 days to raise money for a for a charity here. So it was a lot of running. So I didn't have a coach for that. And then once I finished that, he wanted a slow build back because he was obviously fearful of injury, which is totally fair, especially coming off that many marathons. So we took a full week off and then we just kind of started getting back. So I'm still in the low end of my mileage. I think this week I'm only at 92 kilometers. So that is quite low. That is quite low for me. So we're building our way up. But I think even just in the first month of coming back to running after those races, I think having a coach just to kind of like rely on. He's so amazing. So I don't know if you've heard of him, Jeff Cunningham. So no, no, yeah. So he's in honestly incredible. Like I probably boast about him way too much. But so we got back and the man is so busy, but like you text him and he's right back to you. So having his support already in the first month, also to kind of keep me on the straight and narrow and like not panic because I'm like, Jeff, I would be at like 130 kilometers by now doing this, this, and this. And he's like, okay, relax, like calm down, trust the process. There's a method to the madness. And so I think that that's been really helpful because who knows, I could be dealing with an injury right now if I had just not had a coach and just jumped right into it. So, having that and having him just to kind of bounce things off of, like, okay, hypothetically, in Berlin, if this happens, what do we do? Or hypothetically, what should my pace for this, like these intervals be come the time for Berlin. So he's pretty incredible to have that to bounce off of. Where when it's just me coaching, it's just me talking to myself and trying to figure it all out. So it's nice to have him as that support system. And he's already got me doing runs that like I would have never even dreamt of programming. Some of it I'm like, is this in a different language? I don't understand. So so he is that crazy in a great way and I think that that's really good for me. So it's taken a lot for me to kind of pass over the reins because I'm very controlling of my running because it means so much to me. But I've always said, even 2 years ago when I started dabbling in the idea of a coach, I said, if there is one coach I will confidently hand the reins over to, it will be Jeff Cunningham. And so when he became available, it wasn't even a thought. It was, yep, here's my, you know what I mean? Here we go. See ya next week to start training type of thing. So it's been a shift, but I trust the man. He's so skilled and so knowledgeable. So I'm excited to see where it goes.
I think having coach is you don't have to plan, because you just do the job and you just go and
Yeah,
perform it, and that's the only thing you need to worry about. And I think it has a lot of benefits.
that for sure.
And now switching gears here, right? So earlier on, you said you don't do marathons, but you were part of this thing we talked about earlier, Riot Relays,
Yes.
and that was a different kind of ball game. So totally new to you compared to your marathon journey so far. So what has
Yes.
been the biggest mind shift for you where you are running slow on the road, where you don't care about anything or anybody, but now you have to do different kind of transition and then you have to keep focusing on when is your first leg, when is your second leg, where do I run, all these anxious moments. So what happened and how were you feeling in this?
Yeah. So this was, yeah, the first year that I think it's only the second year Riot Relays has been going on. So I didn't do it last year, but I did it this year. And my team was 6 of us runners, and we had two incredible supports. One was driving our van, and our other fella, Khalil, shout out to him because he actually organized and planned all of the legs for us. So we just had to show up with our running shoes, basically. He had directions, he had printouts, he had, okay, you're doing X amount of kilometers here, you're doing X. So it was incredible to have that organization. And I think we executed that race so well because of that. I think as because the race started at 10 p.m. at night and we ran all the way through to the morning. So no one's sleeping. We're trying to fuel the best we can. I was with quite a competitive group of men that I ran with, and we were looking to win it. It wasn't Sure, it was so much fun. We had so much fun, but they are all so fast. It's insane. So I was like, they were confident we were going to win it. So without Khalil organizing all of the legs and where we needed to be, I think as the night would have gone on, the more sleepless hours we had, if we had to navigate that on our own in the pitch dark, I think there would probably have been some not so kind words when we're all on our last fuse. So I think that that really helped having that organization to start. And I think too, just the whole concept of teamwork really, like our team, and I mean, maybe I'm tooting my own horn here, but our team could not have been better at it. Some of the guys, I only knew three of the runners, and the rest of them I met that night, literally at the start line on my team. So we didn't know each other. We had no idea, never seen them before, and never met them. And so you're like, who knows how that's going to go? We don't know if we're going to mesh. We don't know who, like personalities, things like that. And somehow overnight, we became a little bit of a family and kind of how I saw things. And we all got along so great. There were no little tiffs. And I think because it was so team focused, like, okay, what do you need? You got into the van after your leg. What do you need? Do you need water? Do you need a towel? Do you need food? Okay, who's next? Who's running? Who's biking? Like, everyone was so willing to help and support each other that I think that's what made our team so successful. And we were all each other's hype person. Like, we weren't sitting in the van trying to sleep. Anytime anyone was coming up from their leg, we were all out of the van on the side of the road, cheering, hyping everyone up. Whether you felt like you were going fast enough or slow, too slow, it didn't matter. We were all in it together. And I think that that was the coolest part versus a marathon where it's so independent. It's all just you. You're by yourself. You're fighting through the pain and you're gritting your teeth to get to the finish line. Whereas this, it's like you have so many people on your side. And I think that was a pretty cool experience that way. And as soon as we were done, we were like, okay, so see you guys here next year. It was awesome. It was so, so much fun. And I almost didn't go because my dad had passed away 3 weeks before that. So I was hesitant to go because I didn't want to be that person that was like not enjoying themselves, not having fun. But everyone in that van, like some of them knew, some of them didn't, but it was the atmosphere in the van honestly like brought the biggest smile to my face after a pretty tough 3 weeks of not smiling and not laughing. I had like a permanent grin on my face with everyone in my van and on my team. So it was pretty incredible.
It's like really difficult topic, and I don't know. It's hard to comprehend because unless you go through it, you really don't know what happens. So,
Yeah.
and now you did this Riot Relays where the mindset is different, the game is different, like we talked about, but the struggles are different too because you have to two legs, one something and one at midnight morning. I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning and everything. So what has been for you when you compare doing your marathons where you just go around 42 kilometers and done, but here we have to like navigate between wait for the people and do this kind of things. What has been the major difference for you in terms of working through the team and working by yourself? And also, was there any low moment? Because I was talking to John and he said on his second leg he was like, I don't know if I can do it. It was very hard for him to go through and push.
which is insane because the man ran like an absolute lunatic down those roads. So like yeah, he's crazy. I don't care what he says. It's like, you know what? I can't even run that pace on my good day. So you know what? Stop your complaining. But I love that man. He's insane. But I think that just in terms of the route and running through the night, I think that was so like such different territory. I think that unfortunately for me, because I had just been getting back into my training, I felt for my legs, I was not at my best and not at my tip top marathon shape. So I was actually hard on myself. I was like, oh my God, these men are flying at like 3:30 paces up these rolling hills towards Blue Mountain. And so I was more disappointed for me that I couldn't show up at my best. Mind you, paces were still good, but I was like, I
It
would
was
love to
not
be
two
able to.
kilometer per hour.
Yeah, I was like, I would love to show up for these guys the way that they're showing up right now. But I think in terms of like the team, if the team didn't exist, running at 4 a.m., I would have been like, no. I'd be like, put me in the van, put me in a sleeping bag, see you later, I'm done. But I think because we were all so determined, I think that that made such a big difference for us. And as John, he is insane and he's super competitive. He said at the beginning of the race at the start line at 10 p.m., he's like, we're winning this. And I was like, John, don't do it. Like, don't put that in the universe because if we don't win it, and he's like, no, no, we're winning this. So I think having someone like that on our team is actually super helpful because I'm so not like that. I'm like, oh, like if we win, cool. If we don't, well, it was still fun. But I was like, having that is so different than in the marathon because you're talking to yourself in your head. It's you versus you. Whereas in that team dynamic, it's like you need that person to be like, let's go, guys. You got this. Like, keep pushing, keep pushing. So, I think that that was a really, really cool part about the Riot Relays in my opinion. Did I love running at 4 a.m.? No.
No.
But would I do it again? Absolutely. Like it was so cool. And like the whole weekend was just really, really cool. And you would have had no idea that most of us just met at 10 p.m. at the start line the night before. So we definitely came together, and you don't get that in a marathon. Like, you get crowds and all that stuff, but like, you don't get a team of people meeting you at your checkpoint, hyping you up on kind of that more personal level. It was hard, obviously, even with a bike support on our team, it was hard running in the dark on those back roads in the quiet night. It is definitely mentally tiring, but I think having that support bike, even though you might not be in a talkative mood at 4 a.m., having that support of your runner beside you, it's so different than the marathon. It's so different. It's definitely keeps you moving for sure.
What has been the biggest lesson for you? Because when you're running solo, it's just about you, like you said, you talk to yourself. But when you're doing this team event, when everybody is together, so what is your biggest takeaway from this ride relay?
Oh, I think my biggest takeaway is probably just as much as I played a lot of team sports when I was in high school and then moving to the marathon, being more independent, I think it made me really miss that team mentality and winning as a team. I think crossing through the finish line with all of these incredible runners after accomplishing what we did and realizing like we had won it, I think that it made me realize how much I love the celebration of a team and being able to like look around at your group of runners and be like, guys, we did that together. I think that that was my biggest takeaway was just the power of team and teamwork. And like I said, humble brag, but my team was awesome. Like they were so incredible. And I've seen some of them since that weekend, and it's like we all talk about it still because it was so unbelievable. And people did were shocked when we were like, oh yeah, it was just some of us just met that night. So I think That's the biggest takeaway is how much team and teamwork can really push you through some of those tough moments. So, which was amazing.
Definitely. Going back to that part, I forgot what I was gonna say, but I think that's I don't know what I
Oh,
was.
that's all right.
But I think that's a very nice feeling when you're talking about that. I used to play ultimate frisbee,
Cool.
and it's so much fun when you go and win things because it's like when you get together play. It was 7 versus 7, and you defend, you attacked, and you scored a touchdown, and it's like a different feeling when you go and win. I used to play league games, and it was so much fun. And I think I can understand and relate to that feeling where you were talking about that winning to the team is, it gives so much pleasure because it's just not about you, but it's all the other people who showed up on that day. They went and they did the best, and it just, oh yeah,
Yeah.
those
Yeah,
are the.
it's amazing, really. And it's just like the power of people coming together is so awesome. So,
And now going back and talking about the mileage, it's incredibly huge. You said earlier on, I'm only running 90 kilometer right now. And I'm coming to my peak. I've never run so much. So now I'm coming to 72 kilometers, which is a lot for me.
awesome. Yeah.
And now you're talking about this. So 90 kilometer is a lot. What's been the biggest mistake or the breakthrough where you're building this kind of volume up in your experience?
Um, in terms of setbacks, honestly, at least right now, I wouldn't say I've had any setbacks increasing the mileage. If anything, it's just broken through that barrier for me of I definitely discovered I'm even outside of the sub 3 hour goal, I've learned that I'm definitely a high mileage runner. Some people, they can run a sub 3 hour with 90 kilometers a week and be on their way. But I need that consistency and I need that volume to accomplish what I'm trying to accomplish. And I think to whether it's easy runs or slower runs or things like that, it has added so much value to my running. And I've actually 20 2023, I was so prone to injury, it was insane. Like, I was at my physios once, twice a week sometimes trying to navigate these injuries, and some of them just were not going away, and then when I found out, "Hey, maybe you need to increase your mileage to see if that would help you," and then my 2024 season, I went completely injury-free. And that was my best season yet, where I had my 3 marathons all around that 3 hours and then the sub 3 in Chicago, and I had never been in that kind of shape before, like, fitness-wise, and not a single injury to be found. So, I think that's why I definitely see even though it's a lot lot of miles every week, I find that it doesn't feel like a job for me because I love the sport. Do I wake up every day wanting to run? Not necessarily, but when I do, I never, as cheesy as it sounds, I never regret it. I'm always like, I'm so glad I did that. And once I get going, I'm good to go. It's just always, oh, well, laying in bed with coffee sounds a heck of a lot better right now than waking up on a Saturday at 7 a.m. and going for a run. But every time I do, I'm so happy to do it. And if I can maintain an injury free or at least very limited with the injuries for as long as I can, and that means high mileage, perfect, bring it on. I'm happy to do that because that was what took me out in Chicago in 2023 was a nagging injury and I wasn't taking care of it. And I always, even now, I'll book physio, massage therapist, even if nothing's aching, nothing's sore, just so that I have those appointments for checkups just regularly to be like, okay, is everything moving the way it should be? Is everything functioning the way it should be? And I think that that's definitely been the smart move on my part too, obviously, with increasing the mileage and staying injury free is utilizing those resources and including more of my strength training too. So it's definitely been a game changer. And until it becomes a job or I don't love it anymore, I'm happy to run as many kilometers as I need to keep pushing for some of my big goals.
And how do you balance this thing? Because running 130 to 145 kilometers per week, you need to at least spend 2 hours, give or take, per day, right? Because that's probably it.
Yeah.
So how do you balance? Obviously, you work, and there is other commitment after the work. There is your life too. So how do you manage everything?
To be honest, I'm not sure I balance it all, transparently speaking. Some days I'm looking at my schedule and I'm like, so you work a full-time job today and you're supposed to run for an hour, 2 hours, and then you're also supposed to do your recovery after. And then you also have physio tonight as well. And you know what I mean? Things like that. And also, like, guess what? You're coaching as well because you're like, that's another job outside of my full-time job is person coaching for personal training. So it's like, some days I'm like, I wish there were more hours, but I find just scheduling it all really helps me try to balance it. And I think I have some really good supports in my life in terms of friends and family that they understand that this is, to be honest, this is my priority. It's what I love to do. It's what I plan to do for the next X amount of years. And I'm not a professional runner. I'm not an elite runner by any means, but if one day, few years from now, if I can run like a 2:40 marathon, that takes a lot of time and that takes a lot of effort. And I think that I think I would look back on my life if I didn't do it and go, wow, I wish I had created more time for running. Whereas some days, yeah, absolutely. I'm like, maybe this shouldn't be my full-time job, but I see it as more of my full-time, not even job because I love it so much, but like my full-time focus, if you will. So some days are easier to balance than others. I definitely am happy that I work in the school board because I get the summers off. So then that's a good chunk of time to build and work on my running and have a little bit more freedom. But yeah, otherwise, I work sometimes. I'll sneak in a run on my lunch on the treadmill in the gym. Like, I've always had this mindset that, like, if you want it, you're going to find the time. So sometimes easier said than done, but I know that at some point in my life, I'll look back and go, it was all worth it. So that's enough for me to keep pushing.
We were talking about this. So just now you said if you love something, then you want to get it done. But obviously, some days are really tough. You cannot
Hmm.
be 100% every day. Some days you're just going to be like, whether you're tired from fatigue or whatever. So, how do you navigate in those situations where you want to run, you have to get that soft three and you have to run, you have to be so much committed to it. So, how do you navigate when you're like, oh God, I don't want to do it, but I gotta do it?
Yeah, I think I've always been, I will it doesn't happen often, but I will praise myself that I've always been pretty good at pushing myself to do things. And I think because I was self-coached for so long, I kind of learned that I'm gonna have fights with myself to be like, hey, guess what? Like, you don't have another day this week that you can plug that run in, so it has to be now or never. And so I try to keep that mentality in the back of my head. And I think now working with a coach, it holds me so much more accountable because I'm like, okay, so he's scheduled these runs on these certain days in this specific order for a reason. So I can't just go, oh, you know what? I'm going to do my long run today and then have a speed workout tomorrow. It's not going to happen. So I think having that accountability now of having a coach that I'm also like, I mean, I'm trying to impress him. Like, I want him to want to coach me and be proud of me as a runner. So I'm like, I have to show up for him and not just myself. And so we have mutual, he's very supportive of my goals and he takes those as his goals. So my goals are his goals. And so him holding me accountable to all of this by seeing what are my splits, what are my paces, what are my intervals, what are my runs. I'm like, oh God, he's going to see this. So like I have to do it. So I think that that's been really helpful, especially as the months get hotter here in our area. It's harder to get outside to go run when it's feels like it's 40 out, but when you have someone that's watching, you're like, well, guess I got to do it. So I think that that's definitely helped me.
Now moving on to a different topic, you are a plant-based runner, right? And it's
Yes,
very
yes.
rare to have a plant-based runner who is crossing it, and you are crossing it. So,
Thank you. I appreciate that.
what's your go-to fueling strategy when you are running?
So it's so funny because a lot of the time people are like, oh my gosh, like you're plant based, so like, how do you fuel? But if you think about it, most of those complex carbs and carbs that we take, they're all plant based, right? Like most of them are already plant based, whether it's you're looking at oatmeal or rice or things like that. So it's actually quite easy to fuel those long runs in terms of pre-race, I should say. And like bagels, things like that, like those are all things that I can eat. So that is definitely not an issue for me as much as it sounds like it probably would be. So those good carbs are already plant-based, makes my life so much easier. And I think though, as a female who is also plant-based, I think it's really important for to keep on like an eye on iron levels because I've struggled with it in the past and I know a lot of female runners that end up kind of plateauing or hitting a wall and not performing the way they want to. And it ends up they go and get blood tests and their iron levels are either they're like borderline anemic or they're just really, really, really low. So I often take supplements for that just as a precaution to make sure that I'm getting what I need, especially as a plant-based athlete. For my races, kind of like everyone else out there, I take those really, really delicious gels that you can't you'll never forget what those taste like when it's all over. You'll be like, "Wow, I do not miss those gels at all." So, I actually take gels with me. Sometimes I'll take some energy waffles, which I also like because I like to chew things versus like slurp them out of of a package. But during an actual race, I like to do gels just for convenience. So I normally do the Morton gels, or I've also tried the BPN gels as well. I, funny enough, when I first started running, I didn't bring any gels when I raced marathons, which was like, I look back on it and I'm like, no wonder you didn't run well, you dummy. So I like, and then now I take like 7 gels with me during a race and fuel right before, right up to the start line. So it's definitely, I've learned quite a bit during this journey in such a short period of time, but I think that's kind of been what's been so successful. But I would say that the breakdown late in a marathon for me has been less about like my fueling and just more about poor planning and maybe just being a little bit too gung ho off the start line, like most of us kind of get, is like, oh God, I got to get out of these crowds. And then next thing you know, you're kind of hitting a wall a little later on. But I think being a plant based athlete, it's easier than I think most people think. It's not, especially nowadays. I think if you look back on it like 10 years ago, just the way that things were, it probably would be very hard to be a plant-based, whether you're in ultras, marathons, or any high level sports that you need that fueling. I think it would be a lot more difficult, but I think a lot of brands have now shifted towards those vegan, plant-based kind of proteins and things like that, which has been super helpful. And so I think it's definitely not as hard as it may sound, but I definitely keep an eye on things probably more than someone who does not eat plant-based. Just you never know, something slipped through the cracks or some weeks you're eating more of this and less of this, so you're not getting the right nutrients always. So, I try to track that stuff and take regular supplements for that just as a precaution because I don't need a surprise like anemia diagnosis down the line here. So we don't have time for that.
Have you always been vegan?
So probably since like high school, it's been more vegetarian based than vegan. And then it transitioned more to the vegan lifestyle, just a lifestyle choice. And then in the past couple of years, I'm kind of become a little bit more flexible between vegan and vegetarian, just like I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I like a good pizza. So like if it's coming with real cheese, probably gonna eat it. But I do, all jokes aside, I do try to stick strictly to the vegan diet just for dietary reasons and personal reasons as well. So it's been I kind of haven't really known a life outside of running that didn't involve being plant-based. So I've kind of always been, since I started running, plant-based to some degree. So it hasn't been a big shift for me or my training.
Now, sometimes you think about it, you are a vegan and vegetarian, back and forth.
Yeah, flexible.
So you're flexible. Have you ever think that being a plant-based runner versus where you eat everything, like literally everything,
Yep.
has that been where it has held you back a little bit in terms of performance? Because when you eat everything, then there are a lot of things that you can eat and take, which you can benefit from. So has that ever crossed your mind?
I think it's crossed my mind before, probably before I started running more competitively, I guess you could say. So when I first started running, I did think about it because I was like, because I think I was so new to it, new to running, I didn't know focus I should have nutrition wise. I was really naive to that. So I think because I didn't know, I kind of had that panic of like, oh, is my body going to be able to perform the way that I wanted to perform? And then I realized, no, idiot, it wasn't even about that. It was just you're running marathons without any fuel.
Fuel.
That's what's hindering your performance. So that was probably the only time I've actually wondered, but I think because once I started really kicking up kind of my performance and really working hard at the sport, I think because I was already plant-based and I'm still executing and performing the way I want to, and even in some ways surprising myself, I think it doesn't even cross my mind anymore. Because I think if that was the case, it probably would have stopped me dead in my tracks a while ago.
And you said like you ran 321 without gel. So that is
So,
fast.
so
Yeah.
dumb. I do not recommend that to anyone. Oh my
If
God,
I
that is
can run 321 without gels, I would do it. I don't care.
like oh my gosh. And I remember my first marathon, I didn't bring, or sorry, my first half marathon, I didn't bring anything. Like, what? What are you thinking? And like, oh my gosh. Yeah. We've come a long way, I can tell you that much.
And since
God.
you're plant-based and so you probably obviously take a lot of supplements and stuff like that, and you do this insane amount of high mileages, right? So is there anything that you swear by that it works?
Not necessarily. I'm a pretty plain Jane when it comes to that type of stuff. I feel like almost less is more sometimes because sometimes when you take some of those supplements too, you end up taking too much of something or it's not quite everybody's body absorbs things differently. So sometimes I'm like, oh, I didn't really notice any change or anything like that. So I'm pretty simple in that way. I do obviously, yeah, like I said, pay attention to my iron levels. I'll dabble in some extra B12 supplements just to make sure that like my energy is as high and I'm recovering properly. And I like to also make sure that my immune system, like I try really hard not to get sick because when I get sick, I'm a big baby and it knocks me on my butt. So I have you ever tried like ginger shots in the morning?
But that's my favorite. When I'm sick
Oh,
or
no
before
way.
sick, then that's I always take it because I know that
Oh my
helps with the
gosh.
immunity boost. So yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's so probably like, I don't know, like a year and a half ago, it's a local company in Toronto, and I don't know if have you been to Toronto?
Mm-mm.
Like recent, no, so it's called Greenhouse, and their ginger shot, it literally like burns your throat, but like in the best way. And I've found that, and like I swear, I have been taking it for like a year and a half every morning, and it's just like a little shot of
Yeah.
it. And I swear it saved me because when I'm sick and I take it, I feel everything like open up. And I feel like that's been a game changer. So I'm so glad to hear that you do that too.
Yeah, that's my go-to when I'm sick.
I love
I drink
that.
a lot of ginger tea. Just make ginger. I eat the raw ginger
Oh,
itself.
see, I'm not that crazy.
Yeah, ginger tea
I
is
like
yeah. It's there are a lot of brands here, and whenever I sick, if I feel like I'm getting sick, then that's the first thing I take. Let's go
Yep,
start it, and then
totally.
that will take care of it. And in your journey, right? So you have done three majors so far, and there are
Yes.
six and seven. If you call
So,
Sydney, yeah, seven.
yes, yeah.
Is the go?
Um,
Is the goal to complete all of it?
So when the World Majors all came out with adding Sydney to the ballot and adding that seventh one, I was like, oh God. I was like, I'm already like, I haven't even gotten the six. Can we slow down here? But so they had actually said that they're not going to make it like the seven world major kind of medal because you get that medal at the end that has all
Yeah.
the six of them. And they said that they won't be adding that. So like the six stars is still a thing. And then once they add two more, they'll make it like the nine stars or whatever it was. So we're still on the 6 star journey. So I'm focusing on that. So like I said, I'll be in Berlin in September for the Berlin Marathon. So that will be my fourth, which is super exciting. I'm really excited. I love Berlin. I traveled there a few years ago with two of my friends, and it's so cool. It's so
It
cool. So I'm
is.
very excited to go back and race there. And just like the finish line being through the gates is like the most stunning background you could ever imagine. So I'm very excited for that. And then hopefully Tokyo and
Tokyo.
London.
Pa- oh, yeah. I was like,
Yeah.
Paris. I don't know where Paris came from. I was like, what the hell am I talking about?
Also Paris too. But yeah, then it would be London and Tokyo. And unfortunately, London might take a little bit longer because I'm sure, as you know, being
Yeah.
international runners, even with our times, we have to go through the ballot and the lottery. And I think like this year, like I didn't get in, but I think this year it was like 1.1 million people applied for the lottery. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? Like, why? Why? I don't understand. So, and it's unfortunate because their qualifying times, like my times would kind of reach their qualifying standards. So I'm like, but there's nothing I can do as an international runner other than enter through the lottery over and over again and just kind of hope for the best. But I'm not like, what point do I kind of go, okay, do I just kind of give up on this or do I keep trying to push? Because I know someone that's applied 9 times and she's never gotten in. And she's a 2:46 marathoner and she still can't get in because she's international. So it's a tough pill to swallow. So I have a feeling Tokyo will probably come first because for that one I'm lucky enough where if I run certain races in my area in Toronto, I can use those times to qualify, which is nice. So London will kind of be like, I'm gonna have to beg and plead to some brand or something or become like a influence for the day to get a bib. I don't know. But yeah, so those are the next two on the docket. And then once those ones are done, I'm kind of excited to kind of dabble in some of those other ones. Like I'd love to do the Amsterdam Marathon
Yeah.
and like all the yeah, I would love to. I think they would be so much fun and I'm really there's so many races around in Canada that I haven't done, which would be pretty cool to do as well. So yeah, so we'll see kind of where it goes after these 6 stars get done.
When you think about it, right? So you are chasing this of three. You probably nailed it out. Give or take, couple of seconds minus, right?
Yeah.
What's the other thing that scares you, or that you want to accomplish? And when you think about it, that one thing that totally is.
I think outside of never being able to get into London, I think what actually scares me is kind of like myself, to be honest, because I feel like for me, I'm always going to want more and I'm always going to want better, faster, stronger. And so I guess I'm kind of scared that maybe the limit doesn't exist until I physically am not able to complete something. I think that that's probably where most of my fear comes from. And I mean, of course, it's that feeling of disappointment because even as I've grown since my little whoopsie in Chicago in 2023 and that disappointment, I've learned, but I think you can be doing this sport for years, for your whole life, but the disappointment still hurts because you spend months and you spend weeks and you spend time and money and travel and do all these things. And if you have a coach, you're coaching. And so I think to kind of see all of that not come through with your time at the end is really, really hard no matter what. But I think I've grown to be able to overcome that disappointment and be like, okay, take a deep breath, like keep pushing through. You got more to go. Like, it's not the end of the world as much as it might feel like the end of the world in the moment. There's always another race, there's always another time to try and go for something. But yeah, I think what scares me the most is just how far I'm willing to go personally. So, that good kind of crazy again. Good kind of crazy. So,
I think this next question or this next topic is, I think it was brought up on the podcast with Milton and James. We were talking about the
okay.
same thing was happening, and I was explaining to them, and they talk about it. So, for example, so you're doing this Berlin, and you missed it by 10 seconds. Let's say you did 3:10, right?
Mhm.
But you had the best time of your life, where you were like maybe giving high five, but you were just
Yep.
enjoying everything, and you were like, oh my god, this is the best marathon I've ever been. Would you still be disappointed that you missed it by 10 seconds, or would it be still like, oh my god, this is the best thing that has happened to me while I have run the marathon? And what is important to you when you are doing this marathon? Is it important to get the time you want, or enjoy what you went through?
I think a mix of both, to be honest. I think that as much as it's kind of like kind of funny and ironic that it was Chicago. So my sub 3 in Chicago, it was kind of a mix of both of those things. So that's why it was such a huge race for me, was because I had so much fun. Like, I love that city, and there were people from my area that traveled to watch their partners in the race, and like I saw them on the sidelines, and like in Chicago, in like another country, you're like, oh, I'm not gonna see anyone I know. You know what I mean? Or no one's gonna see me. So like I was loving that. And then there's people hanging out of like their condos on the bridges and everything. And it's like, it's so incredible. And I got really lucky with that race because obviously I got my goal time, but I had the time of my life. And like I should show it to you after the podcast. The photo of John and I, like we didn't start together at the start line, but like the photographer for the race, they caught the moment when John came up and tapped me on the shoulder while we were both crossing the bridge, and we're both just smiling and laughing. And I remember he pulled up beside me, he was like, "Hey girl." And I was like, "Wait, what?" And I think that just set the tone. I was like, this is gonna be a good race. Like, it's gonna be fun, it's gonna be enjoyable. And even though, yeah, I had a goal and I called it a bit of my redemption race from 2023, I had so much fun. And I think that's the biggest thing. I think it's harder to see that when races don't go your way. I think it's harder to look back on it and go, "Oh yeah, that was a fun moment, but I missed my goal by like 2 minutes or whatever." But I think I've always sat in that disappointment, and then in time I circle back and go, "Wow, that moment was really cool when that happened." Or, "Oh my god, that kid's sign was so cute and he like was so excited when he got the high five." Like things like that. So I think I'm someone who kind of lets the disappointment hit, because I think it's also good to sit in that disappointment. I think it would be unhealthy not to. And so I sit in it and then I go, okay, you know what? That was super cool that I saw so and so from Toronto on the sideline at the Boston Marathon. You know what I mean? Like it's those moments. So even Boston this year, it did not go the way I planned. I felt like garbage. It was not the time I wanted. But like then I think about it, and I saw a couple people I know in the race. And then I met Emma Bates at just on the side of the road on Boylston. Like there were so many cool things to look back on. And like, I think that that's also important. And I think once you kind of lose that, then maybe the sport's kind of expired for you. Like once you've lost the fun and enjoyment, even if it was a disappointing race at the end of the day, I think that's kind of when you know maybe you're done with the sport.
The next question I've asked, I'm in a couple of running groups chat, so I
Okay.
try to ask this question to them, and I've got a mixed response to them from that. Some didn't even respond. Why do you run?
Oh man, I think that's such a tough question because sometimes I ask myself that question. I'm like, why do you do this? Like, You pay thousands of dollars to run on streets in different countries and put your body through the ringer when, like, you could just do it on any other day for free. Um,
Exactly.
but I think what it is for me is I've always enjoyed being active. So I think that that was the first kind of thing for me was like I enjoy being active. I live a fairly healthy lifestyle, and I think that that's been a huge piece of the puzzle. But I think a mix of being someone that I was kind of in a point when I started running, I was like, I've done quote unquote everything I want to do up at to this point. And so I was like, what's something new to try? And so then that's when I first started running. And then I think why I continue to run is because not only did I discover like the confidence in myself because of running, but I also just love like the science behind it and all of kind of the method to the madness and the process to it. I love it. And I love watching documentaries on it. I love listening to podcasts about it. And I think, and I'm not a podcast kind of gal, which is ironic because we're literally on one right now. It has to really grab my attention. And I feel like a lot of the ones like yours that are about athletes and their struggles and their successes and running and ultras and all that stuff, I think that when I find that that interests me, that's when I know I'm hooked on something, and that's when I know I love something. Obviously, it helped being well, feeling like I'm getting to a point where, like, I'm like, "Okay, maybe you're actually kind of good at this sport." I think that obviously helps motivate me to keep running, and I'm 30 like, I'm 32 years old, and I'm like, "What's something I can do where I can also still get out there and meet new people?" And kind of build a little bit of my own community. So like that's how I met John was through a run club. I probably never would have met John in my life, but because running brings so many people together, I think that that's been a huge part of why I like to do it because so many people of the like so many people I know now and continue to get to know, I never would have crossed paths with them. And I've met some incredible people through running, and they've become some of my greatest fans and greatest support system, and I think that that's something that's really huge too. And yeah, running for your own time and your own race is independent, but having that community to kind of fall back on, I think is a part of why I do run. I'm kind of an introvert at the same time, so having those run clubs and those run events that make me want to go out and they make me want to go do that and engage with everyone and kind of find people that are like-minded as well. I think I've struggled throughout my life finding like-minded people, and I've found with running I've found those people for the most part. So I think it's been a whole whack of reasons of why I continue to run. And it really is like, I know it's so cliche, but it really is the greatest form of therapy when I can just kind of go into my own world, phones on do not disturb. I train by myself as well, and I just go. And there's some days where I talk literally out loud to myself while I'm running, like, okay, like, well, you got to do this, you got to do that. And it's like, it's just that form of therapy where you can just do you and you can kind of do your own thing. So I think it's been a good outlet for me, definitely a healthier outlet as well for me to utilize. And it's brought me so many people. And like I said earlier, it's definitely become like my greatest love for sure. So yeah.
Hey, look, let me go and find crazy people like me.
Yeah, pretty much. So, where are the craziest group of people that I can find? Oh, found them. Got it. Cool. Yeah, no, it's so true. It's so true. But it's definitely the running world is definitely growing as well. I think ever since COVID, it's definitely boomed, which is great. I think if we can all utilize healthier ways to deal with things, because I know a lot of people that became their outlet during COVID was they're stressed, they're anxious, their mental health was declining, and they reached for that. And a lot of the run clubs were still able to meet, obviously 6 feet apart. And so I think that was one of the few things that people could still do and interact with people during COVID. So I think that hooked a lot of people into the running world. So it's a beautiful thing at the end of the day.
Yes, it is. And like you said, we pay so much money, even though when you can just go and run around, it's
Craziness.
crazy thing that we
Yeah.
do. Before, so last question before you go to the rapid fire round.
Oh, rapid fire round.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what something that running has made you better in your life?
Okay. I think as a whole, in kind of every avenue of my life, I think I probably sound like a bit of a broken record, but I think just, yeah, that confidence boost, that like, and just a friendly reminder that sure I can have goals, but like failure is all a part of the journey at the end of
Yeah,
the day. As hard as it is and as much as it sucks, transparently, you always look back on it and you learn something. There's always something to take from a failure. And not even necessarily a failure, but maybe just a disappointment or maybe something that just didn't go right. And I think even running and just life in general, it can be so unforgiving, but it can be also so beautiful and amazing, if you just kind of let yourself explore that. And I think that's been a big, very, very big thing.
definitely. I think the exploring part. Yesterday I went to a new trail and I found this beautiful vista point where you can just oversee the lake, and it was so nice. It
Oh,
was hard to get there, but it was nice.
it was worth it. Nice. That's amazing.
Yeah. All right. So yes, the rapid fire. So I'll just ask you a bunch of stupid random questions. You can just tell me what comes to your mind first, okay?
Oh boy. Okay, let's do it.
Favorite
I'm nervous.
shoes right now?
Favorite shoes? Race day shoes are the Vaporfly 3s by Nike.
Pre-race meal?
Ooh, pre-race meal. Honestly, I would probably say, oddly enough, oatmeal and then peanut butter on toast. Classic. Classic.
Worst race you have ever run?
Oh God, Chicago 2023, the worst.
Now you have a little bit of experience with ultras and marathon, right? So what hurt more?
I'd say marathons. I'd say marathon hurts.
Who is your running hero?
Ooh, running hero. That's a tough one. That's a tough one. Honestly, it kind of varies, but like right now, I would say like the most people that I'm literally like always zeroed in on are Natasha Wodak and Emma Bates. And I little bit more of like low key, but Mitch Ammons, he's fantastic. He's amazing.
Bucket list race you have not done it except London Marathon.
I was gonna say that might be forever on my bucket list at this point. I would say, honestly, I'd probably say like Amsterdam. I think that'd be so cool to do.
All right, so as you probably know, the last final question is always same for everybody else.
Oh
So
boy.
I would like you to finish this sentence for me. Running
Okay.
has changed my life because
It has taught me more about myself than anything else has in the last 32 years.
awesome. All right, that was beautiful, and I think this was such a nice conversation. I got to know you more, and I learned about your mindset and the
My
things that
craziness.
yeah, your craziness. But it's obvious that you like it and you love this sport so much.
Yeah.
So I can tell by listening to you. So yeah, thank you so much for your time. I know it's early morning in Toronto, so yeah,
Thank
thank you
you
so
so much.
much.
I appreciate it. It was so nice chatting with you, though.
Yes, we've been just talking on DM and now we're here.
Yeah.
So
Now we're here. And now I'll have to look for you on the sidelines at Berlin.
I am running Berlin too.
Oh, yes. Okay, well then there you go. I'll meet you in the corral. There we go.
Yeah, I'm
That's
not
awesome.
that fast. You're gonna be A or B. I'm in the back. Okay,
That's it. We'll sneak you up. We'll sneak you up.
it would be fun. Yeah, I'll definitely. I know Christine and Nicole. They're also coming. So
Yeah.
yeah, we should probably hang out before that. So
Yeah, we
what?
should do like a shakeout run or something.
Oh, I don't do that.
Yeah, no, not for me, not for me.
I want to be fresh when I go into marathon. I don't want to run the day before and get injured or thing. I've never done it, so I'm not gonna do
Hey,
it.
don't break. Don't fix what isn't broken, is what they always
Yep.
say. There you
Yeah,
go.
so yeah, we can come back and talk about how we did in Berlin. Maybe we'll do a group interview then. That would be super
Oh my
fun.
gosh, yeah. That'd be really cool.
Yeah. All right, so see you next time and good luck with
Yes.
Berlin Marathon. Here
Thanks so
comes sub 225. So
much. 255.
255.
I was gonna say
Yes.
225. I'd be like, what? I'd be like, I wish. I wish. All right.
No,
Thanks so much.
yeah, bye.
Bye.
Hey everyone, thank you for making it to the end of the podcast. I hope you really enjoy this conversation. I'll see you again next time with another guest. Until then, happy running.